SML deal eno na ma Ken Ofori-Atta watu bata every Ghana the chief of staff or ni kodi dwuma no ono nso OSP se wo hunu no Manasseh Azure Awuni ene kofa asem we nyina bai SML deal na nkasa na yesen na nana mekrami UG me beti deal da si yi se SML deal na GRA de ne nko a omuko Ghana gold sector Manasseh Azure say estimate oma ye na nanka almost $500 million kebe kom ho okoye downstream sector eno nso sika ye tuama awom oyembe hyew uwie na ba ye upstream akacho the downstream na ye fuel station akokotofu ogu kem upstream na say ye mo $0.5 per barrel na say dey bia na SML make 120,000 United States dollars dako one day $120,000 every day. Na Manasseh there de bia me kaso man we nya no kra ne yenka ene ye dirty politics. This gentleman should be celebrated. Adwuma waye ne man we mu no he needs to be celebrated. Anopai osambo President Mahama baso utimu se asam na tu no eno a o breaking news no upload Mahama so terminate SML deal no na ne ana wo bete SML deal na nkasa how all your critical sectors oil petroleum bebia ne de omo ko ne ye ya GRA mpanifo omo ne aban ye adwuma ne hu ya na omo na ye managers wo SML ne fa soma 2017 ye ba Ken Ofori-Atta adea companies bi kura ya o se SML na nkoye no enne Manasseh adawroma odi ni nyina ba obone tofa ameba bacherew na wo wie no man we no me ka masem se wontimi antie ni utimi fam wu a beti ase yi mesrew so be subscribe ma mo subscribe no click bell notification no me the video bi atuma obehu no watimi ahwebe wo wie a no waja comment in the comment section na wako app any Play Store I wanna pan rate is the best platform abenya the best rate the best and this ka be fie so you should tap send Western Union ya they akos app tampan rate na so app na so sa information ni nyina ho no click na ebeboa na odi adi udwuma Manasseh Azure Awuni any 4 first states ene kofa SML scandal na buy parent Akufo-Addo education KPMG report na even MPP aban na kofa SML na buy no KPMG report ne buy no otie nsema KPMG kan ya na enwanwa intinanya nwa say elements within the NDC na yetete so mbe so mu keep deal no na enwanwa current GRA boss ya President Mahama de ne buy no ye senior partner of KPMG enne Manasseh draw sa line we nyina chirechire mu na ye ya SML buy na ye ya Ken Ofori-Atta kofo mo buy sectors o mo koye sika o mo benya ni bibia tb
started having an interest in this matter when there were reports that some oil marketing companies, and by oil marketing companies I mean those who sell to us at the fuel pumps, they lift the petroleum products from the depots, and every liter that you lift there are tax components on the tax and revenue components. Some go to the GRA, others go to the MPA. So you are supposed to sell, take your margins, pay the owner of the petroleum product, and then give the tax component to the government. But many of these shady OMCs often absconded after selling and then making their profit. So systems started getting in place. And one of the systems was something they call the Enterprise Relational Database Management System, ERDMS, which is a platform, an online platform, which ensures that if anybody wants to load a petroleum product anywhere in this country, whether you are loading gasoline or diesel from Tema, Bupe, Kumasi or Takrade, you go onto this system and then place the order. This order will be vetted by the MPA and the GRA. So if you loaded your previous one and then you were due to bring the money to the state and you have not paid, you'll be blocked out from loading again. This system is linked to the customs system, which they call ICOMS. And also it records the volumes that are lifted at the various depots. And if you go to every depot in this country, you would have customs officials there. So they have the keys to the depots. So if the owner of the petroleum product is there and the buyers are there, and then you don't have the GRA officials, customs officials, that they will not lift. Then there was an issue of diversion, which was often cheated, or people cheated the system using the UPPF system. That ensures that a liter of petroleum product in Accra sells the same as the price in Bolga, because there is a system to flatten out transportation cost. So some would load and claim that they are going to discharge in Bolga and end up discharging in Sawam, but taking the amount that should have accrued if they had taken the product to Bolga. So the MPA introduced a tracking system. So if you go to the MPA today and anybody loads petroleum products in any tanker, an electronic seal is placed on that vehicle, so that if you don't get your destination and you tamper with the seal, it sends an automatic alarm to the MPA. Your location is detected and you can be arrested. So if you go to the MPA today, you will see live tracking of vehicles that are in Burkina Faso, Mali, Eastern region, everywhere in this country. So that is checking the diversion. And they brought fuel marking system, also another company, to check the dilution of petroleum products. So all these systems were put in place to ensure that the state's interest is protected, and then the revenue that is due us is collected. In our investigation, we asked the GRA officials, head of petroleum, Mr. Samson Enim, who said that with the ERDMS, it ensures that the GRA is able to track its volumes. And once you're able to track your volumes, you're able to collect the appropriate taxes. Besides all of these, we found out that another company by name SML, now we know that it used to be SMEL, smell, and perhaps they didn't like the smell of it, so they changed it to SML, which has still not taken the smell away anyway. But this company claimed to be doing under the checking under declaration, diversion, dilution, and it stated these functions on its website, that this is what it did, and it stemmed the tide in the downstream petroleum sector. When we finished our investigation, we went to SML and we actually first interviewed the GRA officials, who said that no, SML was not performing these functions. So the day my team went to interview SML, there were at least 6 or so officials from the customs division of the GRA. We went together, including the head of the department. And they even started a conversation that Manasseh and his people say, you are doing ABC. And SML said, no, we never stated that. So I went to their website and read it to them. And they admitted, well, it may have been a mistake, somebody put it there. So by the close of the day, the company took this out of their website. So that tells you that the downstream petroleum sector that the company claimed to be providing those services, it wasn't doing any of them. Then there were 2 other contracts at the ports that SML had: external price verification and transaction audits. And I don't want to speak so much about whether or not those functions were also giving us value for money. This is what the president's white paper, and I'm talking about President Akufo-Addo's white paper from the KPMG report, said of this contract: that the transaction audits and external price verification services may also be terminated According to KPMG's findings, GRA obtained partial value or benefit from those services. This was also due to a lack of monitoring on the part of GRA to ensure that SML performed the services as stipulated in the contracts. KPMG, and this is the important part, KPMG's investigations found that GRA has introduced external price verification tools as part of ICONS, among its other functions. This renders reliance on SML for external price verification redundant. These are not my words, these are the words of the Presidency of the Republic of Ghana at the time of President Akufo-Addo, based on the KPMG findings. And these two contracts were terminated. And it is interesting to say that these services that we are told were redundant, the country has paid SML 506 million Ghana cedis for these services. 506 million Ghana cedis for services that the president said were redundant because customs was already doing it. And when in our investigation we said that the services were not needed, people questioned it is one of them. And two, the downstream petroleum measurement audit, we know that the measurement SML was doing, GRA was not using them for revenue purposes. GRA was using the existing meters that were there before SML was introduced. Those are the meter readings GRA used for its taxes. Then in 2023, in June, despite adequate evidence that this company was doing practically nothing to add value to the state, the Minister of Finance, Ken Ofori-Atta, caused a letter to be written. And that letter, I just want to read. It was written on the dated 22nd June 2023. The title is Expansion of the Scope of Work by Mrs. Strategic Mobilization Limited. And this letter is signed by Ernest Akore, Chief of Cabinet, who we are now told is at large with Ken Ofori-Atta. The letter says, the Honorable Minister has determined that there is a need to monitor the production and shipment of gold and oil out of the country. To this end, he would like to expand the scope of the revenue assurance work being performed by SML to include petroleum oil drilling by the oil production companies and the gold mining companies. This contract was eventually signed in October 2023. And it is instructive to know the keywords. It is the minister who determined, because the Minerals Commission and the Petroleum Commission, when we wrote to them, they said they knew nothing about them, these deals, because they were or are still regulators of these sectors. Then it is the minister who decided, Ken Ofori-Atta, that the scope should be expanded. The expansion had a clause that dealt with the payment, that every barrel of oil Ghana produced, SML should be entitled to $0.75. And when we did a calculation per the production quantities, this was translating to about $120,000 every single day with drilled oil. Then in the mining sector, we were told that contract said 0.75% of total production of gold. If you look at the billions of dollars that gold is giving us this year because of the gold prices and increment of the production and everything, SML would just have been making millions of dollars for works that we do not know, because the revenue has increased in the sector without SML's contract being implemented, and the company would have taken credit. So when we did our calculation, this company was to be entitled to over $100 million every single year. And if you take the first 5 years of the contract, we are talking of over $500 million. And now that gold prices are skyrocketing, our estimates then, I think, were even too conservative. So this is what the contract is about. Services that the company was performing, which were redundant because existing systems were already in place. And then Ken Ofori-Atta again wanted us to increase it. And when we asked SML whether in their revenue assurance operations, there had been a single situation when they caught a company, an oil marketing company, doing something that was illegal, they said no, not once did they ever flag a company. So the assumption and the issue that we came to stop the leakages, it is false. GRA officials, customs officials are working very hard at every single depot. If they do not open the valve, you cannot load. There are already meters there calibrated by the Ghana Standards Authority, and these meters are more accurate than the meters of SML. So the question is, why pay over 1.4 billion cedis to a company whose services lack value for money? A company which the PPA denied single source approval on 3 separate occasions because it said SML did not have any experience or capacity to deliver. And we wrote to the Institute of Chartered Accountants Ghana. Their act says that to provide services of auditing and accountancy, you should be licensed by the institute. If you fail to obtain a license, you could be fined, jailed, or both. And we asked, does SML have the license to do these works? The letter they responded to us said no. So many violations of the law, many breaches of common sense, and it appeared people who were behind this deal did not act in the interest of the state. And finally, it is interesting to add that a former head of legal at the GRA now works for SML. The former technical advisor to the Commissioner General of the GRA, Christian Tetesoti, now works for SML. The former Commissioner of Customs, Isaac Krensel of the GRA, now works for SML. So even if the service was needed, the question we should be asking is, if you had the capacity to manage these revenue assurance services and you were at GRA, why did you outsource it to another company? And then when you left GRA, you went to that company to provide those same services to the GRA.
Yes. So if I react angrily to these things, am I not justified? It is alleged. But KPMG report authenticated most of these things. But you can say the court, yes, I will yield to that. But you ask yourself, sometimes I'm at this conversation, so was there no checks and balances? As Obiya and your pay. MP was system the tracking. No. Every single thing you want to privatize and chop. Inti, I say no first video I'm around 2. No. This is why people are agitated about oral. Because in some hotel, a chayam. And a chayam. They are worrying. A chayam. And who says ye answer one shadan say be big giddy biana, answer one shadan who be biana. Ebe show before. You will be agitated. And those agitations, in my view, are legitimate. Because it seems as if, say, I slow kakra. And people are not entirely happy with it. It's sad, eh? It's sad. You know, so about comment on it. Shall comment with me. When you don't boys back from the hour winning. I know mine and some. Chale. So comment with me. Now you are subscribing. No, I click the bell notification. The video be to my home. Wait me, I should be. Again, let's keep it that cross. Say the Debbie, I can hear Ghana, see you. Show you, mommy. Bye bye.